My name is Julian Mercer, 32 years old, founder and CEO of an AI defense startup recently acquired for a sum so large, I don't say it aloud anymore. Not because of humility, but because saying it changes people. Suddenly, everyone becomes your best friend or your worst enemy. The media calls me a visionary. My colleagues call me lucky. My father calls me a mistake. I hadn't seen him in 2 years. Not since he threw a glass ashtray at me after I refused to sell our patents to his military firm. My father, Roland Mercer, once a decorated intelligence officer, now a defense contractor with connections in every dark hallway of government. A man who didn't believe in softness or apologies, or sons who cried. His version of love was silence. His version of pride was control. But last week he called me, not through his assistant, not through lawyers. He called me. His voice was stiff, but there was something cracked at the edge of it, something unusual. Julian, there's a gala next Friday. Your company's success made headlines, even in my circles. Your name's on the guest list. I want you to come. I should have hung up. I didn't. I said I'd think about it. And then I did. For 6 nights. I didn't sleep well. I kept replaying his voice in my mind. Something felt off, like a chord out of key, and part of me wanted him to see what I'd become, that I wasn't his to control anymore. The gala was held beneath the glass dome of a private senator's estate. Everything glittered. Champagne flutes, marble, mirrors, power dressed in gold and silk. I wore a custom black suit and smiled at everyone who didn't know what they were smiling at. And then I saw him, Roland Mercer, my father, standing like a statue beneath a golden eagle, surrounded by medals and ghosts. His hair was more gray than I remembered, but his spine still stood military straight. He met my eyes and nodded once, his old signal, approach. I walked toward him, extended my hand. He didn't take it. Instead, he handed me a champagne glass, his eyes sharp, unreadable. To your next empire, he said, and grinned, a grin that never reached his eyes. I smiled, raised the glass, leaned in. Thanks for coming, Dad. I stepped back. He blinked. Just once, his smile twitched, like something bitter was stuck in his throat. For the next hour, he introduced me to senators, lobbyists, men I'd only seen in leaked memos. His voice was flawless, but his hand never left his drink. Always sipping, never swallowing too much. Then he ordered another glass. He didn't drink it. He handed it to me. To victory, son. I took it, nodding. But when he turned his head, just for a second, I placed my glass beside him and picked up his instead. No one saw. It was fast, precise. 10 minutes passed, 15. The room swam in jazz and laughter. He kept talking, toasting, smiling. And then, he faltered. His left hand trembled, his voice clipped. He blinked rapidly, then gripped the edge of the bar. He collapsed slowly, like a skyscraper folding inward. Gasps, cries, glass shattered. He looked at me, not with anger, with confusion, then fear, because he knew. He knew what I had done. He knew what he had planned. And he realized, too late, that I had taken control. As they dragged him out on a stretcher, I sipped from the untouched glass he meant for me. No one noticed. No one suspected. But I did. I looked down at the spot where he had fallen, and I smiled. They said it was dehydration, a stress-induced episode. Your father's stable, the doctor told us at the hospital. His vitals are returning to normal. But I knew. I had felt that same spiral in my body a year ago. Same symptoms, same timing, same man. No one else asked questions. No one wanted to disturb the illusion that Roland Mercer, the great war architect, could be touched. But I'd already been touched by him, bruised by him, scarred, quietly, for years. He tried to kill me once before, and now I had proof, at least an instinct. I just needed something physical, something real, something undeniable. After the chaos at the gala, I slipped out early. Everyone was too distracted to notice. I took the glass he had handed me, the one he ended up drinking from, and wrapped it in a linen napkin before I left. Back in my apartment, I placed it on the counter like it was radioactive. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I made one call to someone I hadn't spoken to in years. Naomi Kim, former military chemist, left the government after a scandal involving experimental interrogation serums, now consulting, privately, quietly. She picked up on the third ring. "Julian Mercer," she said flatly. "Either you're dying or you want someone else to." "Maybe both," I said. "I need something analyzed. Quiet. Now." "I'll send a runner," she said. "You've got 1 hour." The glass was gone by morning. She didn't ask questions. She never did. That's why I trusted her. 3 days passed, and during those 3 days, I lived like I was under siege. Kept my phone on silent, kept my doors locked, turned off my location tracking. Paranoia? Maybe. But when you grow up with a father like mine, paranoia is just pattern recognition. On the second day, my mother called. "Julian," she said, voice soft, tired. "He's asking for you." "Is he?" "He doesn't remember what happened, or he pretends not to. I don't know anymore. But he keeps repeating your name. You should come." I paused. "Mom, did you see the moment it happened?" "Yes." "Did it remind you of anything?" Silence. Then she whispered, "Like what happened to you last year, after your birthday toast." I closed my eyes. That toast, that night, when I collapsed in front of her, and he claimed it was just bad shrimp, but she knew. She had always known. Mothers always know. "I'll visit him when the time's right," I said. "Julian." Her voice trembled. "Whatever you're doing, just be careful." "I am." That evening, Naomi texted, "Ready. Come alone." Her lab was underground, literally. A converted wine cellar beneath a private home in Oakland. No signage, just reinforced steel and a biometric scanner. She met me at the elevator. No words, just a single-page report. I read the first line and stopped breathing. Substance: carfamorelin derivative. Class: neuromuscular depressant. Illicit: engineered. Dose: fatal in 25 minutes without reversal. "This was in the champagne?" I asked. She nodded. "Engineered to mimic cardiac arrest," she said. "Leaves the bloodstream quickly, almost undetectable after 45 minutes. You sure?" "I'd stake my life on it," she said. "Someone made this for one purpose: to look like nature took its course. Heart attack, collapse. Tragic, but not criminal." I looked down at the page again. Fatal in 25 minutes. He had planned it perfectly. Had I drunk that glass, I would have never known. Never felt anything except weakness, silence, darkness. He wouldn't even have had to lie. I would have died in a tuxedo, and he would have raised a toast over my body. "Naomi," I said, folding the paper, "keep this between us. For now. You planning something?" "I'm not sure yet. But if you like this story." I paused. "Subscribe for more." She laughed. First time in years I'd heard her laugh. Still a showman. "No," I said. "Not this time." That night I drove. Not to the hospital, not to his house, to the beach, where he once held me underwater for toughening up, where I almost drowned at 9 years old while he timed me with a stopwatch. And I sat there for hours, staring into the black ocean, trying to understand how a father can look at his son and see only a threat. And when the tide rose high enough to wash over my shoes, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let him fail. Not this time. I was going to let him finish what he started. And then I was going to take everything from him. Not out of revenge, but because I wanted him to watch it all fall. The report stayed with me like a second spine, folded in my coat, pressed to my ribs. I memorized every word, every dosage line, every chemical compound. The poison had a name now, and so did the war. I waited 5 days before visiting him, enough time for him to convince himself the world still turned for him, that he was still the architect of fate. The hospital room was private, of course. White walls, thick blinds, no windows. The kind of suite money buys when you want people to forget you're vulnerable. I walked in without knocking. He was sitting up, dressed, groomed, not a single fore in sight. "Julian," he said, smiling like nothing had happened. "Roland," I replied, "not Dad." He tilted his head. "Didn't expect you to show." "You called," I said, calmly, taking the chair across from him. "So here I am." Silence. He folded his hands, studied me like I was one of his old field reports. "You know," he said slowly, "I was worried about you. At the gala, you left so suddenly." "I wasn't feeling well," I said. "Too much champagne." He grinned at that. "Yeah, that'll get you." I reached into my coat pocket and placed a small, unlabeled USB stick on the table between us. He stared at it. "What's that?" "Insurance." I watched the flicker in his eyes. Fear, quickly buried under practiced calm. "Still playing games?" he asked. "No," I said. "Ending them." He didn't touch the USB, didn't blink. That told me he knew exactly what I was implying. "Whatever you think happened, Julian." "I know what happened," I interrupted, "and so do you." He looked away, briefly, a microsecond, but enough. "I want to show you something," I said, unlocking my phone. I played a short clip, footage from the gala, security camera, grainy but clear. A close-up of him slipping something into the champagne flute behind his back, his hand, his glass, his crime. He watched, silent. "Private server," I said. "Encrypted. Geo-scattered. If anything happens to me, if I so much as lose cell signal for 24 hours, this goes wide. Senate committee, media, your board, your enemies, everyone." He leaned forward, finally losing the calm. "You're threatening me?" "No," I said, standing. "I'm freeing you." He blinked. "Freeing me from what?" "From the delusion that you're untouchable." I picked up the USB. "You poisoned your son. You failed. Then you smiled and toasted your legacy." He said nothing. I walked to the door, and just before leaving, I turned to face him. "I'm not calling the cops. Not yet. You're going to undo yourself long before they get involved, and I'll be there to watch it." Then I left. Let him sit with that. Let him wonder what I would do next, because he didn't know what I had planned. But I did. I wasn't just going to ruin his name. I was going to burn the Mercer Foundation from the inside. And I had a plan. First, the board. Second, his finances. Third, the one person he never thought I'd talk to. His other son. His empire wasn't built on brilliance. It was built on leverage, blackmail, debt. Secrets sealed behind NDAs and shell companies. I knew that because I watched him build it brick by brick from the shadows of my childhood. Now, I would take it apart the same way, quietly, precisely. First target, the Mercer Foundation Board. Publicly, it was a philanthropic arm. In reality, it funneled funds from private defense contracts to companies registered offshore. 2 of those companies had my father's name embedded in corporate filings, just obscure enough to dodge regulation, but not invisible. I didn't need to hack anything. I was the software guy. I built the cybersecurity backend for his original investment platform when I was 21. They never revoked my access. He never thought I'd use it against him. I logged in, quietly. Midnight, one hand on the keyboard, the other on my phone, recording every step. I opened transaction logs, traced routing chains, screenshot after screenshot. Funds moving from military consulting into climate research accounts in the Caymans. Millions. And then I found it. A $2.3 million transfer logged 4 days before the gala. Label, legacy provision. The recipient? An anonymous entity registered in my name. He tried to kill me after moving money into an account that would activate upon my death. It was an insurance payout. I was worth more dead than alive. And he made sure of it. I exported everything, packaged it into a clean drive. Then I did what he would have never predicted. I scheduled a private meeting with Chairman Henry Voss, a man who once told me over brandy, "Your father might be rich, Julian, but you're the weapon." Voss agreed to meet the next morning. Neutral ground, no ties, a downtown cafe with no cameras and no microphones. I handed him the drive. "You want to take him down?" he asked. "I want you to help him fall." He didn't even blink. "You'll need more than this." "I have more," he smirked. "Why now?" "Because I'm not afraid anymore," I said. "And because I want him to know it was me." As I stood to leave, Voss grabbed my wrist. "If you're going to war, Julian, don't forget to win." I walked out into the sunlight, and for the first time in years, I felt calm. But I wasn't done. I had one more piece to move before the game collapsed. His other son, Matthew. Born from an affair, exiled from the family name, paid off to disappear. I tracked him down in exactly 4 minutes. Working as a private contractor in Dubai, aviation logistics, I sent him a message. "You deserve to know what he did to both of us. If you want the truth, meet me in Zurich." He replied 3 hours later. "When?" 3 days passed. We met at a hotel bar, both pretending we hadn't Googled each other. I told him everything. The poisoning, the financial trail, the fake insurance account. He sat in silence, eyes unreadable. Then he pulled out a phone. "I have something you'll want." A recording from 2 years ago. Roland's voice. "We can't let Julian keep the patents." "I'll handle it. If anything happens to him, you'll get a cut." I stared at the phone like it was made of fire. "You recorded this?" I asked. "He didn't know," Matt said. "He always thought I was stupid." "You kept it?" "I knew one day it'd matter." "You want in?" He raised his glass. "I want him gone." For a second, I didn't say anything. Then I smiled. "Good. Let's burn the kingdom down." Back in my hotel room, I updated the file package, added the audio, reorganized the evidence, prepped everything for release. I wasn't bluffing anymore. This was no longer a warning. It was a countdown. And if you've followed this story so far, if you see what I see, hit subscribe. Because the end isn't quiet. It's explosive. The file was ready. Evidence of financial crimes, contract fraud, attempted murder. Audio recordings, encrypted metadata, IP trails, every piece hand-placed like chess. I didn't send it to the police. I leaked it. 2 journalists, 1 international defense investigator, and 1 anonymous upload to a dark web forum used by whistleblowers and foreign intelligence analysts. Within 48 hours, the news broke. CEO Roland Mercer implicated in multinational laundering scheme. Whistleblower claims attempted murder of son over defense patents. Leaked audio ties Mercer to black budget crimes. The Mercer Foundation board collapsed first. Voss initiated a full audit. His entire staff, legal, financial, communications, resigned or were subpoenaed. His assets were frozen within 72 hours. His Cayman accounts seized. Properties locked, phones confiscated. I didn't speak to him, not until the morning he was arrested. I went to see him. He was already in the suit he always hated, Gray, government-issued, one size too loose. 2 U.S. Marshals waited outside the room. He sat alone. No tie, no glass of wine, just silence. I sat across from him. He didn't lift his eyes. "You win," he muttered. "There was no game," I said. He looked up then, for the first time in years, really looked. "You destroyed everything," he said, voice like sand. "All of it." "No," I said, calm. "You did that. I just showed the world what you were." He opened his mouth to speak, maybe to lie, maybe to beg, but I cut him off. "I was 9 when you left me in the ocean." His jaw clenched. "You said it was training. I remember swallowing water and seeing the sky bend. I remember you laughing while I choked." Silence. I leaned in. "Now the tide's taken you." He didn't say another word. The marshals came in, cuffed him, walked him out like a paper doll. He didn't fight. He didn't turn back. The trial began 2 months later. 3 federal charges, 2 sealed indictments, 1 count of attempted homicide. I wasn't required to testify, but I did. Calmly. Clearly. Without shaking. My voice didn't break once. Matthew was there too. So was my mother. Silent but unblinking. Seated in the front row. She didn't cry. She didn't smile. Just watch the man she once loved vanish behind a wall of steel and consequence. When the verdict came back, guilty on all counts, there was no applause. Just a strange quiet. A chapter closing. A final breath. We sold the company soon after. The Mercer name erased from every page. The patents now belonged to someone else. Someone better. I bought a house in the hills above Lake Como. Quiet. Simple. The kind of place where nothing echoes unless you want it to. Matthew visits sometimes. We don't talk about the past. We talk about future contracts, flying cars, quantum systems. He's good at it. Better than anyone thought. My mother planted lavender outside the guest house. It blooms late in the year. Some nights, I sit outside, a glass of wine in hand. No fear in my chest. No shadow behind me. Just peace. And on the night Roland Mercer was sentenced to life in federal prison, I opened a bottle of champagne, poured 2 glasses, held one up to the empty air. "To your billion-dollar future, son," I whispered. And then I drank from both. Everything he built, gone in 10 minutes.